I was so excited this week to talk about maker spaces because it's something that I feel has a huge place in a learning setting and is so amazing, especially as um, learners these days do kind of get more caught up in the technology side of things and wanting um, tech all the time. And sometimes they forget about being creative and using their hands and learning that way. So, um, something that I'm really excited to talk about within like the scope of makerspaces is the idea of loose parts. Um, a term that's strongly connected to loose parts is open-ended. And I think that goes hand in hand with the experience of a makerspace because open-ended materials, environments, and experiences encourage problem solving and are child-centered, according to the Penn State website on loose parts. As I stated in the discussion board this week, I used to work in a Reggio Emilia style school, which is super child-centered and focused on conscious discipline and problem solving and kind of letting kids figure things out by doing. So the school as a whole is kind of its own maker space, which is really awesome. And it's interesting because I went from doing that, which is very creative and loose and fun and like learning by doing, and then I went into a career that is super data based and like we write programs and we take data on it and there are certain answers and everything is really contrived. Um, so this week, my goal was to kind of think about how I could incorporate maker spaces into a clinical ABA therapy setting. So throughout the process of learning, maker spaces again can really help children with problem solving and when you're using like loose parts, for example, you could have like half a crayon and a Lego. And I've seen kids, you can turn that into like a street sweeper, or you can use it to build a tower, or the child can go find other parts and incorporate them all together to make like a garden. So using loose parts in a maker space gives children the ability to, like the Penn State website says, have open-ended materials, and they can involve themselves in making a concrete thing from loose parts and other materials. And through this process, they go through a process of trial and error, um, which means that they're learning by their own doing. So they're not trying to connect Lego to uh, the end of a broomstick um, because we told them it wouldn't work. They know themselves that that won't work because they tried it, and we as educators gave them an opportunity to try and fail, which is something that I feel like in so many schools. I work in a public school setting now. In so many schools, teachers are so afraid to just let their students fail and learn from those failures. So I think that is something that maker spaces are extremely important in teaching. In our discussion board this week, one of my peers mentioned the analogy of when you're doing like DIY or woodworking, you always say like measure twice so you cut once. And I think that really encompasses the spirit of maker spaces. Like you learn from doing, and then from there you can establish, or the learners can establish their own sense of what is right and wrong, not because we told them that's how they do it, but because they learned from their mistakes and now they have a more solid path to improve upon as they go forward. This helps with their final products in every way because they know in the future what works and what doesn't, and they know that being creative can make these amazing things. I mean, in my old school, in the Reggio school, we had a mud kitchen where the kids like made as like a structure, and it looked like a kitchen made out of wood, and the kids would like take things from the woods over there and pour mud in and make soup, and then they would figure out if they put more water in it would be more soupy. But how am I supposed to tell them to make their soup better as an educator? Yet they're learning all of these problem solving skills and working together to solve these problems because they're able to tinker with things and they're able to figure it out on their own and do it on their own. Um, and this type of critical thinking is crucial for their final products. It's crucial for them as they grow older and go out in the workforce. And it's crucial in their day-to-day life. I can't even tell you how many times my boss says to me, well, why did you make that decision, or why did you take data this way? Like, what was your thought process when you tried this? And most of the time my answer is because I've tried it before and it worked, or I've tried this and this and this and it didn't work, and this is what works. And it's that common sense and that problem solving piece that is super important. And I think that plus the creativity that Makerspaces allows is why Makerspaces are so important for to be in a learning environment, especially in today's world. Learners need to be able to figure things out for themselves and come to their own conclusions so that they have more strength and more self-confidence, and they're able to move forward in the world based on their own findings and not just blindly listening to what other people tell them to do.